Right now, somewhere in the world, a city is glowing. Streetlights, screens, headlights, an unbroken wall of light pushing back the dark. You've probably never spent a single night in true darkness. But for almost the entire history of our species, night wasn't something you switched off. It was a country you lived in for half your life, and it had its own rules, its own dangers, and its own secret rituals that built who we are today. So what actually happened out there, in the dark, for 300,000 years? The answer isn't just strange, it's the reason you exist at all. Let's go back further than fire, to a time when night meant one thing: stillness. Early hominins had no advantage after sunset. Our vision is weak in low light. Our sense of smell is unremarkable. Every predator stalking the African savanna, lions, hyenas, leopards, owned the dark completely. So our ancestors did the only sensible thing. They froze, they climbed, they huddled, they waited for morning. Night wasn't lived, it was survived. Then something changed everything: control over fire. The oldest confirmed evidence comes from sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, dating back roughly 1 million years. Fire didn't just produce warmth, it rewired the human schedule. A burning fire creates an invisible perimeter. Researchers studying surviving hunter-gatherer groups have found that predators consistently avoid a roughly 30-foot radius around an active flame. Inside that ring, for the first time, a human being could exist after dark without becoming prey. And once humans were safe at night, something unexpected happened. They didn't just survive the extra hours, they used them. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent years recording the Ju-Honsi people of the Kalahari, one of the last populations living close to humanity's original rhythm. Her findings, published in 2014, were striking. During daylight, conversation was almost entirely practical: hunting plans, complaints, negotiations. But after dark, around the fire, everything shifted. The vast majority of nighttime talk became stories, myths, distant adventures, jokes, tales about the dead and the stars. Wiesner's conclusion was bold. The fire circle wasn't just a safety zone. It was the first stage humanity ever built. It's plausibly where imagination, religion, and shared culture were born. But storytelling wasn't the only secret the night was hiding. There's a second mystery, one that didn't surface until the 1990s, and it has to do with how you actually sleep. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Ware ran a quiet but radical experiment. He placed volunteers into 14 hours of darkness every night for a month. No artificial light at all, just like life before electricity. Within weeks, every participant fell into the exact same rhythm: about 4 hours of sleep, then an hour or two of calm, wide-awake stillness, then another 4 hours of sleep. Nobody taught them this. Their bodies simply remembered it. Ware measured their hormones during that strange middle window and found elevated prolactin, the same chemical your brain releases during deep meditation. It wasn't insomnia. It was a forgotten state of consciousness, buried under centuries of electric light. And historians had already stumbled onto proof this state once defined ordinary life. Old medical texts, prayer books, court records, even lines from Homer repeatedly described 2 separate sleeps in a night, with a quiet waking period between them. For centuries, scholars assumed they were misreading the language because nobody slept that way anymore. They were wrong. Humanity once treated that midnight gap as sacred time, for reflection, for conversation, for simply lying still in the dark and thinking. So what erased an entire phase of human consciousness? Light. Real, deliberate light. Street lamps spread through European cities in the 1600s. Gas lighting followed in the 1800s. Then, in 1879, the electric bulb arrived, and within one generation, 300,000 years of nighttime rhythm vanished almost overnight. There's a quiet clue hiding in language. The word curfew comes from the French couvre-feu, literally, cover the fire. Towns once rang a bell each evening, ordering households to smother their flames because night was supposed to return to darkness. Walking outside after dark without a lantern was, in many places, against the law. The night belonged to danger, to superstition, to the unknown, and people respected that boundary for millennia. We don't respect it anymore. The average person today sits under artificial light for 7 or 8 hours after sunset, much of it the blue glow of screens. That light convinces your brain it's still daytime. It delays melatonin. It fragments the very sleep cycle that defined your species for hundreds of millennia. And yet, researchers have found that just 1 week without artificial light, like a basic camping trip, is enough to reset your melatonin clock by nearly 2 hours. The ancient program is still in there. It's just waiting for the dark to come back. So if you've ever woken up at 2 in the morning, lying there in total silence, restless for no obvious reason, maybe that's not a malfunction. Maybe it's an inheritance. For 300,000 years, your ancestors spent their nights wide awake in the dark, telling stories that built entire belief systems, resting in 2 separate phases with a quiet hour of reflection in between, staring up at a sky so dark the Milky Way was simply there. Not a destination, just the ceiling of their world. We traded all of it for a single light switch, and most of us never even noticed what disappeared. If this video changed the way you think about human history, let me know in the comments. What's one ancient human habit you wish still existed today? I read every comment, and your ideas often inspire future documentaries. If you're curious about the hidden stories that shaped humanity, subscribe to Origin Theory, because every week we uncover another forgotten chapter of our past. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you.